Good morning. Welcome to NTI Week 2, Day 9 for Friday, April the 3rd, 2020. First, you're probably like, Miss Guthier has finally lost her mind. No, not yet. I am wearing my flowing blonde locks today because it was supposed to be my bachelorette weekend in Nashville this weekend, and part of the theme was wigs. So, and if I can't wear my wig with, and honestly, this probably wouldn't be my choice. All my other wigs are in storage. I thought I'd probably want to do like a little black bob or maybe a blonde bob. What do you guys think? So instead of being able to wear my wig and cavort around Nashville with 25 of my closest friends, I decided to wear my wig and explain through some questions you might have for chapters 4 through 7 before taking the quiz. I hope you've had a wonderful week. First things first, we do have Fun Fact Friday. This Fun Fact Friday is Disney World themed. So I'm going to read you a couple, and Disneyland, a couple facts about both Disneys. Doritos were first invented at Disneyland in an attempt to use old tortillas that they would have otherwise thrown out. If you spent one night in every single room available in all the Disney World resorts, it would take you 68 years to sleep in all of them. Disney World is the second largest purchaser of explosives in the United States. The first is the U.S. Department of Defense. Disney World is actually larger than 17 countries. Every night after closing, Disneyland releases 200 cats in the park to help keep the rodent population down. In 2009, Disney was in talks about creating the Dark Kingdom at Disney World, a fifth park that would have been themed around its villains. That would be so awesome. Here's a not so fun fact. I've never been to Disney. I feel like I would love Disney. The teachers say that like the spectacle and the costumes and the overdoing of everything, I'd be very into. Not that I ever overdo anything. The next thing we've got is Instagram Dog of the Day. Instagram Dog of the Day is brought to you by Norbert, the 3-pound therapy dog. Norbert is 11 years old. He is 3 pounds, and he goes to hospitals, and I believe he also is one of the dogs that, you guys, I can't even really talk about it. He goes and sits with kids who struggle to read so they don't get so nervous when they read in front of other people because they've already read in front of Norbert. It's so sweet. So I'm obsessed with Norbert. Obviously, Norbert has an older sibling. I can't remember his name, but look at them hanging out together. Don't you just want to pass out? It's so cute. You can find him at NORBERTTHEDOG. So, couple things about the quiz. Number 1, I got some questions last week about, I took the quiz and then it's saying I got a 0 out of 25. Now, don't pay attention to any grading that they ever have, anything that pops up on Google Classroom, because I grade everything from I grade everything by hand because everything's short answer. So I can't make a key that Google's going to recognize. So do not pay attention to Google Google Classroom telling you have any sort of a score. Look on Infinite Campus. Now, if you see that there's a 0 on Infinite Campus for something that you turned in, please don't hesitate to tell me. I'm still getting used to getting late assignments on Google Classroom as opposed to having them in my late pile that's like a physical pile that I remember to grade. So I am going to need you to kind of teamwork this with me and make sure that we're both staying on track of your grade. I will do my absolute best, but I have 126 of you, so if you see something that seems wrong, you are not bothering me at all to send me an email and ask about it. One other thing in terms of characters, we've got one additional character. If you want to take a picture, you'll just notice there's an addition, Mr. Avery. You can either take a picture of this, or if you hand wrote it last week, you might want to add him there. The only reason I put Mr. Avery in secondary characters as opposed to random cameos, he is in 2 chapters. So Mr. Avery was mentioned in chapters 4 through 7. The kids are watching him pee off the front porch. He's mentioned again in chapter 8. So I just wanted you to at least kind of have his name archived. He's not a huge player in any of the scenes, but we want to recognize his name. He's a resident in Maycomb. I say this because it matters later, but he's a rather large man. So just keep that in mind. And then let's see here. The other thing that really was important about these chapters is trying to trace Scout and Jem's character development, namely in the ways of empathy, which I know I talked about in a video, I believe yesterday or the day before. Remember, empathy is being able to understand someone or understand how someone feels because you can almost feel that same way. You can understand maybe why someone would do something because you're putting yourself in their shoes, in his or her shoes. That's, of course, something that Atticus at the end of chapter 3 was trying to teach Scout. So this is a coming of age story, so we want to watch how these characters are growing into more mature people as the chapters go on. And one of the ways we're going to notice this empathy process within the two main characters, Scout and Jem, and their character development is through Boo Radley and just the Radley house in general. Now, at no point in these chapters does Harper Lee say, you guys, this is an example of Scout and Jem maturing in their perspective of Boo Radley. No, but we can notice that things are changing. So in chapter 1, Boo Radley is described by Jem in pretty intense ways. He eats with his hands, he eats raw animals, he walks like a zombie, he stares at people at night, he kills their animals, he terrorizes the neighborhood by night, and the only time anyone's ever seen him is when he stabbed his parent in the leg with scissors and then kept on cutting the paper. We don't have that same perspective by chapter 7. Yes, the kids are still curious. Yes, they're still semi-fearful, but there isn't the same mystique or monstrousness mentioned in these later chapters. So I want you to start looking at the ways that the kids are either describing or interacting with Boo Radley and the Radley house in general. I know they're not actually interacting because we haven't seen him, but we noticed that at the end of chapter 7, that's when they're going to try to leave that note for whoever is leaving stuff in the tree, which leads me to my next thing. There are two people that could be leaving stuff in the trees or in the tree for the kids. Nathan Radley and Boo Radley. Now, of those two people, you should be able to guess who was actually doing it. Because all we know about Nathan Radley is that he kind of like one word answers the kids when he passes them on the street, and he fills up the knothole when he realizes that things are being left in it. So I'm going to go on ahead and, just because I'm not there to walk you through it a little bit more, Nathan Radley does not want the kids on his property. And so there's one other person that we could assume is putting stuff in that tree. And at this point, Jem probably knows that. Jem is the older sibling. We're going to watch Jem really struggle with, like, he's starting to become a lot more emotional. And from someone who is in earlier chapters telling Scout that every time she's emotional or afraid of something, she's a girl, we kind of see the tables turning and we see Jem being a little more in touch with emotional stuff. And we're probably going to start to realize, or Jem's starting to realize, that maybe the treatment that the kids have done in terms of, putting on plays about Boo Radley or, being afraid of him or trying to peek in may have been a mistake. So you definitely want to start looking at that. The other questions on the quiz, you want to go over the whiskey bottle quote from chapter 5, which I do explain on the day 6 lesson if you missed that. That's going to be the Tuesday, March 31st lesson. Otherwise, I don't think there's anything on the quiz that you'll need a ton of help from me on. But if there is anything, I will do my best to get back to you. Remember, our hours for teachers that we have to be by our computer is 10 to 2. And I try to answer before and after that, but I can't promise you could get an answer. But if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. As always, I love you. I miss you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I did skip weekend plans because I can't imagine we have any. But I do hope you're able to enjoy the beautiful weather this weekend. See you tomorrow. And by tomorrow, I mean Monday.